Hey guys, Steve Petrotto here with my buddy Sean Sullivan. We're going to talk to you today about the new flight modes for the 200QX. This is the new aerobatic flight modes. It's a firmware update. It's a free firmware update. You're going to need to make sure you have your multi-rotor programmer cable, which we've been selling. It's BLH7840 is the part number. That's going to help you to update the 200QX. It's got the cables inside for this model. We've been shipping it like that for a while. Some of you may have asked what that cable's for, but this is what it's for. You're also going to need to get a set of props. There are two sets of props. Initially, there's going to be the sport prop. Now the sport prop, as you can see, is more of a semi-symmetrical, slightly different, but this is the first set of props that we'll have available. This is BLH7814, I believe. And then we're gonna have a 3D prop, and Sean has the 3D props equipped. You'll see that they're obviously very fluorescent, easy to tell orientation. You have an orange and a green, and those are gonna be a little more aggressive. They're a flat paddle, they're a symmetrical paddle, so it'll be a lot better for the inverted flight. Now, these flight modes, they're all done by motor reversing, so we're actually stopping and starting the motors very fast and spinning them in reverse. And of course, the flat paddle prop helps us to do this as well. Of course, with our speed controls that we designed in the 200QX, we can stop and start the motors no problem. Now, there are three flight modes you're going to get with this update. You're going to have a stability mode, slightly modified. We'll talk about that in a second. We're going to have a 3D stagility mode, and then we're going to have a 3D agility mode. The first flight mode is going to be a stability mode. That's going to be a white LED. The next flight mode is going to be called 3D stagility. That's going to be a purple LED. And then the third flight mode is going to be 3D agility, and that's going to be a yellow LED. All right, so let's talk about what the flight modes actually mean. Stability mode is going to be just like what we're used to. So you're going to have bank limitations for elevator and aileron. You're going to have zero throttle input from zero. It's going to be an idle throttle speed from 0 throttle to 50% throttle. So as you move that throttle in that range, you're not going to have any motion on the props. They'll be idling, but they won't be revving up. As you get from 50 to 100% on your throttle stick, that's going to give you the positive thrust. So what this mode really is for is, of course, for taking off. You can take off in the other modes too, but for taking off and for bailing out. So if you're in, let's say you're flying in the other modes and you lose control, go ahead and flip back to this mode, add throttle, and the model's going to self-recover and go back to positive and upright flight. The second flight mode is what we're calling 3D stagility mode. Now this is really cool, and one I'm really excited about is going to be the ability to give you inverted flight and positive flight while having the self-leveling technology of SAFE. So we're going to be able to rotate the model. When we give input, let's say we give a full aileron command, the model's going to rotate. As long as you're past about 80% of that stick motion, that's going to let the model flip over. If you're in between that, so let's say you're center stick to about 79% of the stick, that's going to be just a normal flying, so it's going to be self-leveling. When I push it all the way to one side, it's going to give me a flip, or it's going to actually flip until I tell it to stop. So it's giving you self-leveling, so you can really learn inverted flight. Really cool mode. The last mode is 3D agility mode. That's going to be agility mode, so no bank limitations, of course, no self-leveling, of course. So this is all on you. It's going to be flying similar to flying a collective pitch heli with no self-leveling. So you give command, the model will roll. You have to give the throttle command to get the props to reverse. Now, how do you get the props to reverse? Well, it's real simple. Just like in a heli with collective pitch, above center stick is positive thrust, and below center stick is negative thrust. So right in that center line, the motors will stop and start reverse or positive. So the higher I push the throttle, I'm going to have positive thrust. If I cross the center line and go to 0, it's going to be negative thrust. So let's have Sean fly this now, give you an idea. I'll walk through some of the modes again while he's flying so you get a better idea in case my descriptions here didn't make sense to you. Guys, so Sean's taken off in stability mode. Now he's above center stick again, so this is where the throttle becomes active. So it's going to have self-leveling just like stability mode. You're going to have that 45 or so degree bank angle limitation, and then it will snap back right into center. So it's going to feel really natural if you've been flying stability mode. This is 3D stagility mode. This is going to be the purple LED. So as you can see, you can take off normal. Sean's about 50% throttle right now, 55%, somewhere in there. Now when he gives a full command to the right, it's going to roll over, but it catches itself because it's going to be self-leveling. So he can show you now that there's self-leveling here. As long as he doesn't give a full stick command, the model's going to self-level. And if he gives, let's say he rolls to the right and adds a little bit of positive throttle, now it's going to be upright and flying. So now again, back into that level flight, back into that self-leveling. All right, So that's 3D Stagility mode. Really good for learning inverted flight. An awesome mode for you really wanting to learn even inverted flight for flying collective pitch helis. This is 3D Agility mode. This is going to be indicated by a yellow LED light. Now this has no self-leveling, no bank angle limitations. It's going to be the most aggressive flying you can do with the 200QX. This is not really designed for the beginning pilot. Of course, Sean's a pretty advanced pilot here, and he's able to fly it. You can do some pirouetting tic-tocs, almost like a piro flip. Flies really close to a collective pitch heli. Awesome funnel work, tons of power too, and at any time if he does freak out, he can always go back into that stability mode, so he can always bail out. Alrighty. Alright guys, so that's all the modes for the 200QX aerobatic mode update. Please check it out. Go to bladehelis.com. We're excited to do it. We'll have this at IRCHA, so check it out.